Hello, everyone. This is Nael Shahbaz and InvoNews podcast. So today our guest is Marc Vontobel. He's the founder and CEO at Starmind. Hi, Marc. How are you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
You're in Switzerland, I believe.
Yes, I'm currently in Zurich in our headquarters, and it's getting hot. Today is one of the hottest days of the year.
Okay, it can't be hotter than Lahore, where I am right now. But by the way, it's raining. It's monsoon season here. So it's raining cats and dogs and dinosaurs.
Okay. No, over here it's like 35, 36 degrees Celsius. And for Switzerland, that's really hot.
That's where hot. Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, let's start off. Why don't you just introduce me to Starmind, what it is? What does it do? So just go ahead.
Perfect. Maybe I start with our founding story because it gives a good insight into why Starmind actually exists. I have a background in computer science, and at university I started to be interested in AI and robotics. So I was supposed to work at the AI lab of the University of Zurich, working on humanoid robots. And I believe back in the days, with my background in computer science, I know a lot about the world that I need to know.
Which year was it?
It was 2010.
Okay.
2009, 2010. And I found out that I actually should have learned much more at university, from material science to chemistry to physics to biology and so on, to actually be able to work on a complex system like a humanoid robot. So the idea came up to build like an eBay for knowledge, to build a platform where instead of me researching for hours, weeks, months on a topic I'm not aware of, where I can just ask a question and the question would autonomously find the right person anywhere in the world who is currently working on exactly that topic. And we were quite successful, had about 12,000 scientists on the platform, everyone eager to solve some tricky questions on the platform and earn some money on the side. But the problem was it was quite a one-sided market. The scientists didn't really want to pay for the knowledge of their colleagues. So the original idea of Starmind didn't really work out. And it was by pure coincidence that 3 years later, 2013, the CIO of a large Swiss bank approached us and said, I heard about Starmind, and I actually have exactly the same problem within my organization. I know for every single problem that I face, there would be someone within the organization that could help me solve it or has potentially already solved it before, but I have no chance to find that person without putting a huge effort into the search. For us, until then, understanding how large organizations manage their knowledge was not really something we have dealt with. But we actually found out that every large organization faces exactly the same challenge. 80% of the knowledge is inside the heads of people, not really written down. The stuff that is written down is to a large extent outdated, hard to find, hard to apply to new situations. But there is no Google for the brain. There is nothing how you can easily find who is currently dealing with what kinds of topics within the organization. And that's when we decided to build exactly that technology, a technology that constantly learns based on the data that is available within the organization, who is currently the right person to approach for any given topic.
You mentioned that it didn't work initially when you had about 12,000 scientists in it. Can you tell a bit about the money part? How was it? How were they being paid?
Originally, we created a transactional business model, so that if you have a question, you just tell us how much you're willing to pay for a good answer, like a Quora on steroids. The problem with that, but we learned that in retrospect, is that it's quite virtual to not to put a price tag on an answer you haven't received yet. I mean, an answer can be correct, but doesn't help you. In the internet from someone you don't know, it's quite a tricky challenge for lots of people. So this transactional business model really failed. And today within organizations, of course, there is no money on the question, on the answer like that. You just ask your question and it finds the right colleague within the organization that can help you answer it.
So now you have transformed from global perspective or global reach to organizational level. Is that the best way to put it?
Yeah, or from a scientific platform for scientists around the world to platforms that large organizations can use within their premises.
Right. Okay. For example, what kind of queries do you see on Starmind?
So we have three main solutions where we're quite successful in. One is in R&D. So if you work in a R&D department of a large organization, you're actually pretty similar to the original use case that we have been working on in the science world, but the wheel gets reinvented over and over again. Those people working on one product are actually researching the same things as those working on a different product, sitting somewhere in the world, decentralized and not being able to get in touch with the right person quickly. That's one of the solutions where Starmind is really helpful, because in the end, it helps increasing the R&D output, be it in life sciences, pharma, for example, with Novartis using Starmind to get new medicines, new drugs quicker out into the market. We have quite a lot of companies using Starmind exactly for that. Second solution that is very prominent is in sales. So large organizations, like professional services like Cognizant, like Deloitte and so on, they are confronted with the same problem over and over again. A customer says, I need a solution for this. And then it's mostly an RFP, and then you have to respond very quickly to their RFP and with a very high quality answer. But in most cases, you are dependent on those few people within your country organization that are available at the moment to help you solve that RFP. But you know, at least in theory, that there would be over the world people within your organization who have solved similar problems for customers before. If you could just quickly talk to them, you can increase in the end the win rate of new customers. That's a very important KPI for most of our customers, and Starmind can help there. So we have lots of questions in that area regarding how to solve this RFP quicker and with a higher chance of success. And the last solution where we are very active in is employee self-help. So lots of customers put Starmind in front of their shared service center. So if you have a problem, be it an IT support problem, an HR topic, and so on, you can choose between creating a ticket that goes to an agent sitting somewhere and getting an answer within the next 3 to 5 days, or to quickly talk to a colleague who potentially also has an answer. It takes you normally half an hour to an hour to get to a solution. It's not officially approved then, but in most cases it unblocks you and reduces the numbers of tickets being created in the service center. And that's also very good use case to use Starmind.
Okay, I'm going to ask very basic and simple questions because I might not have understood you correctly. And actually, the case number 2 about the sales, that has actually interested me. I mean, I'm really curious to understand because obviously I'm trying to relate it with my organization. Do you use AI in getting the answers? So that's one question. And the second one is, how does it actually, can you actually describe a case study for request for proposal? A customer approaches, say, our company InvoZone and says he needs this app built, or he needs to develop a web platform, web app. and the sales team, they're like, okay, we need to gather everyone, we need to establish a request proposal, and it needs to shine because it needs to be persuasive and all that. And of course, they need to wait for the right answers. They need to gather the right information and research. How does that StarMind help in either bridging the gap of communication or reducing time in responding to that? How does it actually work? Can you describe in detail about a case study?
Sure. So to your first question, we are specialized in understanding who is the right person within the organization that can help you solve a problem. So we know pretty specifically who at the moment in time deals with what kind of topics more than anyone else. So that's where our AI is very strong. So we can give you an insight into the knowledge of the whole organization. So if you have a question, and that question has not been asked before, or a similar question, we route it to the right person within the organization where we have a high chance of getting an answer. By the way, we have a 95% resolution rate. So 95% of all these questions that have not yet been answered, we find the right person who is willing and able to give an answer. That's the core of Starmind.
And how do you get the data?
Well, we learn from all different kinds of platform. We are specialized in data that is within the organization publicly available. So every employee could look at the data and draw the same conclusions, but no one can do it at scale. So for example, a good source are all the public channels in Microsoft Teams or Slack, where everyone could read through all the conversations that were held. No one does that. But we take out the essence and can relate that and say, okay, that person currently deals with this topic more than someone else. Lots of companies have quite an open calendar policy. So you can open up the calendar of your colleagues and see like 8 out of 10 calendar entries. You can see who is meeting with whom, what is the topic, what's the agenda, and so on. In these cases, whenever it's not set to private, StarMind can also draw conclusions from that. And any document you share, anything in the end that within the organization is available to the rest of the employees can be made available to StarMind as well. And that's what feeds our AI. Now, once a question has been answered, we don't throw that answer away. We keep it, and the AI afterwards gets smarter and smarter and can answer certain questions on its own. But the original answer is always, or the first answer is always from a human being within the organization.
I see. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second question, which is, do you think that human knowledge is underestimated within an organization? Are you also struggling with this fact, or is it just people do understand that they need other people and other experts to answer instead of just Googling or finding it on their own?
It's a very good question. I believe everyone is aware of how powerful human knowledge, experience, expertise actually is. But no one really thinks about how you could leverage that outside those people that you anyway already know. You believe, okay, I know 20 people, 50 people, 100 people in the company. If I have a question that I cannot solve by myself, I just approach one of these people. That's pretty common. But if you work in an organization with 100,000 employees, you know, theoretically, for every single problem you have, there would be someone out there, but there is not this imagination that there could be something that finds you the right person automatically, unless that person puts lots of effort into curating a profile, into promoting themselves. That was the old way of how knowledge management was done, right? Force people to write down everything they know, then you might find them. But that, I think it's more a problem of that not being able to imagine that this is actually possible. But people do know that human knowledge is and experience is superior to most AI systems. They just don't know that it's that accessible, or it can be made accessible within the organization.
Yeah, I think that was more relevant to your marketing manager, the one who joined earlier. I think if she could answer, like, how does she struggle in broadcasting the message of Starmind, and how does she convince people that it's a solution and it can work for them? So maybe on some other podcast I might invite her. So yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, you've partly answered one question. I would like to just would like you to address one chunk of. I'm going to go back to the genesis part of Starmind. What were your pain points initially when you were starting, and right now when you were approached by the CIO? So right now, what are the pain points, and you would like to for these problems to be solved, and so you could actually grow better?
Yeah. So our original pain point was really that we were overwhelmed by all the topics we had to be aware of building a robot. So we completely underestimated how complex that was. So that was our pain point. And that's why we.
By the way, when you say we, how many were you actually?
Oh, we were two. My co-founder and I.
Like, were you students back in university?
Yes, we were students last year at university. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was our very own pain point, and we said we don't want to get 75 years old before we can actually start working on on that robot. We need to be able to tap into the right knowledge quickly to be able to solve problems faster. That was the original pain point, our very own pain point. And now what we see when we look at our customers, they have lots of pain points that are actually similar from the perspective of the employee, from the perspective of the organization. If you have, for example, 20-25% turnover on the people side, which is in certain industries very normal. Statistically seen, you have a new company every 4 years. Mm. And it's just not possible to get up to speed, understand who knows what in a manual way. It's just not possible for 100,000, for 200, for 300, 400,000 people. So their pain point is they're paying lots of money in form of salary to highly educated people, but they cannot really leverage that knowledge outside the direct team, the role, and so on. So onboarding is a huge pain point. How do you get these new people on board, that they know everything they need to know, that they can navigate through the organization, but also from the other perspective, how can we make sure that we, whenever we have a problem, get to the right person within the organization? That's a big pain point. Of course, now after the pandemic, new way of work, remote work, statistics show that people actually are much more siloed than before. A statistic from Microsoft from 2021 said we are communicating 90% less with people outside our direct team. And if you think about what would be a result of that, and if you think, for example, about innovation, unplanned innovation, getting ideas from people who have other perspectives you would otherwise never work with, if you're not in touch with those people anymore, the long-term effect on innovation is probably huge. So there is much less like serendipity, like this moments of, oh, actually, I just learned something. I can apply that to my work just because I was able to talk to someone who I would have otherwise never met. And with Starmind, you can actually do that in a digital world. You suddenly get in touch with people that you would have otherwise never met, and get other perspectives and get knowledge and expertise that you would otherwise never get.
Yeah, and sometimes there's a half-cooked idea with someone thinks, and then if they communicate to the other person, they actually execute it and they probably refine it and actually give it a shape. So that also happens. Okay, a follow-up question that perfect to the one that you've explained. Any specific new features that you're planning to add in StarMind? You mentioned the pain point is onboarding new employees.
So one of the big topics we're working on is we already support 16 languages, but our vision is actually to create a fully cross-lingual StarMind version so that whether you ask your question in English, someone answers it in German, someone comments it in Chinese, it just doesn't matter. You always see the whole content in your language, because we believe that's the last big silo in every organization, even though every organization has kind of the corporate language, in most cases English, but still we see that lots of people, especially experts in let's say more remote locations, they don't really feel comfortable sharing their expertise in English. So we believe if we can really crack that and let people just speak in their native language, then we can really tear down that last big silo that exists in every large organization.
How do you plan to do that, by the way? Like technologically, are you gonna get like Google Translator integrated, or how does it work?
Well,
or how are you planning it?
The translating part is actually that we already have that implemented, and we work together with different translation services. The problem is more, how do you build a model underneath that understands who knows what about what in a in a root language, let's put it that way. So because if we learn that someone is an expert in Apple in English, then you cannot just translate it to the fruit in German. You always have to understand the context. So you have to build a model underneath that is very robust, and we're working on that pretty heavily, but we are not yet there.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move to the next question. How StarMind ensures communication between the right people? And could you please share an example of a company use case of using StarMind?
So what we do is actually we connect people based on someone having a question. We analyze what this question is about, and then we make a prediction who within the organization is currently willing and able to answer that question based on the most recent signals and data that we have learned from. That is not always 100% successful and accurate. So as I said, we have a 95% resolution rate. 5% of the questions don't find that person who has an answer or is willing to share it. Then what we have a feedback loop involved. So once you get an answer, you can say, oh, that was a really good answer, give 1 to 5 stars. That again ensures that the quality gets better and better over time. You can also say that answer really helped me. So it has a green border around it, and it stands for, okay, solved my problem. That's again another reinforcement of the algorithm has done something right. And in the end, the algorithm is just very focused on getting better and better. There are just a few KPIs like resolution rate, time to solution, and it tries to optimize that over time. And that's how we do that.
I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Probably I know the answer. Question is, have you ever thought about establishing a universal database? So you provide services to companies. So what if one person could help another person in another company? So how do you want to solve it? I mean, I'm sure you must have thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the idea of in the end being able to interconnect all these great experts all over the world is really interesting. It's internally we always call that the hypercloud. Like, how do we create out of these clouds one big hypercloud? The problem, at least today, maybe that changes in the next 10 years, but today is that companies don't really want their employees to help employees in other companies. So they're very protective about their knowledge. There is this trend of like liquid workforce and people working for several companies at the same time, and that's increasing. I believe in the US, it's already 42% of people are contractors and not anymore working for one single company. So maybe one day in the future, that will be an option, but at the moment, at least from our customers' perspective, that's not possible.
Okay, I hope that hypercloud actually becomes a reality soon. My question is, do you think the speed of AI learning from all this data is sufficient enough to, for example, the problem that you mentioned about the language, do you see that being solved in the near future? Like, are you happy with how the AI is actually adapting to the speed of your thought?
I have two answers to that question. I believe we highly overestimate what AI is able to do. That's why we focus on human knowledge. We use AI as a tool to figure out who has what kind of expertise. And I don't think that within the next few years, AI will come anywhere close to human intelligence. I even think it's not really comparable. On the other hand, I mean, there are things that AI is just very good at, and that's processing lots of data very quickly. And that's exactly where we are using it. And I believe their AI does an amazing job. No one could do that manually. It goes into 10 different applications and compare all the data points to figure out who at the moment in time deals with the topic more than anyone else. AI is very fast in doing that, and the development in that space are also very, very advanced and very fast. So on the one hand, I believe the progress is great, amazing, but on the other hand, compared to human intelligence, we're still very far away.
What if Google approaches you, they're like, hey, Mark, whatever you're doing is great, and we want to acquire you, and they offer you a lot of money and all that. Say you sell it, what would be the next Starmind or next venture that you will get into?
Oh, it's actually not really something I thought about a lot, because I believe so much in what Starmind is doing. I would potentially never sell it to Google. We have not started this company with the goal to make a lot of money by selling it. We have started this company because we want to change the way people work together and really be able to help people within large organizations be less frustrated on the one hand because they don't find what they need and they spend too much time searching for information, but on the other hand also give them visibility, create an environment where they're seen and can grow and so on. And that's what motivates us, not really selling the company and doing something else. But everything I have done within my professional life, at least, I founded 2 other companies before Starmind. It was always about connecting people some way, and Starmind is now connecting people based on their knowledge. I believe I will always stick to that because it brings me most joy. Because when you see what happens if you connect the right people, it's just amazing.
How about thinking about, I mean, I'm going back to the Gensis. You mentioned you wanted to make it an eBay of knowledge. So what if it's open for the world? I mean, you can have silos of companies, so that knowledge base is protected. What if I need help with my car and someone can immediately help me and AI just, finds that person within 2 minutes, and then I send them the payment or digital payment or something and they help me? Do you think that would be possible, or you've tried it already?
I think from a technical perspective, that's absolutely possible to make sure that you get everyone, those people that are very good in repairing cars, but also those that are very, very good in programming, and those that are very good in designing, and so on, everyone on the same platform. I think that's a pretty tough road. So I believe if you want to be successful with a company, you really have to at least start very focused, pick one niche, and then be very good there, and then add another and another and another vertical. I don't think that in today's world, where we have great platforms for probably mechanics being connected to those that need a mechanic, that you can just kind of overrule everything with one platform. I think that's tough.
Oh, okay. Okay, I like the practical approach. My colleague Fatma just extracted some stats. Knowledge management software market is projected to reach $58.81 billion by 2028. What do you think the trends will be this year in this market?
I believe there is going to collaboration, learning management, and knowledge management is starting to melt together, because knowledge management for so many people means so many different things. 20 years ago, it was really about how do we force people to, or manage people to write everything down into a wiki or into a profile. And we have the collaboration side. How do we connect people digitally that cannot meet any more in person? Learning management systems. How can we make sure that we upskill and reskill people, and so on? And all of that, to a certain extent, is actually solving the same problem. You want to leverage the knowledge within the organization, and I believe these applications are going to more and more integrate and build a more seamless experience to the employee. I think that's one of the trends. And then, of course, I believe knowledge collaboration. So to be able to work together with the right colleague, no matter where they sit, no matter in their hierarchy level and their job description. This is going to be a big topic over the next few years.
Okay, impressive. Last question. Other than the language part, that's the problem that you want to solve. What other things, other than this one, technologically, do you think would be possible, or do you want for Starmind to happen?
So some of our customers, especially in the professional services industry, also use Starmind to put together the right teams for a new project. So you say, I need this and this and this knowledge and experience. Who is suitable for that? And they're already using it that way. What we are piloting at the moment is, can you use Starmind also internally for smaller project gigs, where you say, okay, I need someone to help me for a day with this and that topic. It's not really solvable by one question and an answer, but you can promote a gig, and technology underneath is very similar, finding out who is the perfect fit for that. But then you afterwards can have a whiteboard session, can have just a conversation, can meet up, and so on. I think that has quite a lot of potential, and that could be a direction where we will invest more in the future.
Okay, perfect. Tell me, what are you doing in Switzerland? Do you have offices like all over Europe, or?
No, we have our headquarters here in Zurich, Switzerland, and we have people in Frankfurt in Germany, and we have a team in the US, mainly around New York City, and that's the footprint of Starmind. I forgot Barcelona, which Barcelona is actually growing quite fast. We have established a branch there 1.5 years ago, and it's growing quite rapidly.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for your time. It was a very informative session, at least for me. I mean, I got to learn really good stuff I didn't really know about. Is there anything you would like to add, or before we sign off, you want to say anything to our audience, to InvoZone audience?
Well, first of all, again, thanks for having me. And I believe we all have to be very, very careful at the moment. Everyone loves remote work. I love it as well. But we really have to be cautious that we don't lose the connection to people within the organization. And if you don't use Starmind, at least from time to time, chat with someone within the organization you haven't seen for a long time. I believe it's so important that companies don't fall apart because of the new way we work together. And I think that's something we should always have in mind.
Thanks for reminding. I sometimes do that, but I'm going to do that more.
Perfect.
All right, Marc, take care.
You too. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Likewise.
Bye-bye.
Bye.